early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, the truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
Hey anglers, we're excited. We're going to Milford Lake. Twisted Cat Outdoors is going to Kansas for the first time. We're excited. Join us May 4th at Milford Lake. We can't wait to see you. It's going to be fun. That's stop number 5 on the tournament trail. Again, points are starting to kind of come together, so we're going to see how it breaks down after Kerr. And then again, we'll see you May 4th, Milford Lake, Kansas. Hey everybody, welcome Monday night, and we got a special guest from over in Kansas, Benji Stoller. But we're really excited. Milford, stop number 5 is coming up. Boats are starting to get registered. So if you have any questions about Milford this Saturday, May 4th, ask in the comments. If you have any questions about any other upcoming events, let us know. Any questions about fishing tonight, lakes, rivers, whatever, we're going to dive in with Benji. He's a guide out in Kansas. He's good on the Missouri, good on the lakes, and he's got a lot of valuable information. So let's pick his brain. Let's have some fun tonight. And again, hopefully I see everybody this weekend, May 4th in Milford Lake. The host hotel is going to be the Courtyard in Junction City. Acorns has been booked. So Friday night, we'll just have a real chill, non-mandatory get-together. They got a huge parking lot and convention center next to the Courtyard. There's a Mexican restaurant, Walmart, all that stuff. So plenty of room in the parking lot. We'll hang out, and we'll have some stuff, some merch for sale, some new hats we got. And then Saturday, we're going to kick off the tournament. So again, I'll kind of go over that tonight, how we're doing the weigh-in. Everything's going to be out of the Milford State Park Ramp Marina. Again, it's a 5-fish limit, 2 over 40, and 3 under 25. So it's a 25 to 40-inch slot. We'll be using Kevin Parks's ruler, certified ruler. We have those for sale for Kevin, but we will also have that ruler Friday night and Saturday morning to check yours. I don't want to disqualify anybody, but it's not only a rule, it's the law there, 25 to 40. So you want to make sure you follow that. And again, hopefully we're going to see some big weights. I've heard some big fish are being caught in Milford, and this is our first time in Kansas, so pretty excited about that. So again, any questions at all about the event, fishing, lakes, rivers, any of that stuff, tonight's the night to pick Benji's brain with Cross Creek Outdoors. And let's go ahead and bring him in and have some fun. What's going on?
Hey, Alex, what's up?
It's Monday night, and you made it on the podcast.
We are here. I'm trying to get the volume figured out. It's a little bit low.
Can you hear me now?
What's that?
Can you hear me good?
Not like it was earlier, to be honest, but we'll get it working.
Let's see. What's up? Phil Brown is in the house. Josh Morris. What's up, Rob? You think you need to pop back out and come back in, or is it?
It's kind of, I don't know what it is. It's not Let me try the headphones.
Your camera is like following you or something. That's kind of cool. That's the first. Yes.
I haven't upgraded to AirPods yet. Let's see how this goes.
Look at my for real. Got a Barnes koozie. Is that any better? What's up, Hunter? Any better?
It's not, but I'll just listen close and hope the kids aren't too crazy upstairs.
What if you log out and try to log back in? That might help. So maybe just log all the way out and then log back in, and then I'll bring you back in. We had it working really, really good just a little bit ago, so probably because I took him back out of the stage. But yeah, what's up, Hunter? So again, if you have any questions about this weekend, I hope to see you there. Again, this is stop number 5, and we got a couple things that we added today. If you're following any of the social media or the website, we added a tournament in Savannah, Tennessee, the Catfish Derby and Riverfest. So that's going to make 13 tournaments plus a championship. That tournament is October 12th. So we almost have a tournament every weekend in October. We go from New Madrid, Missouri, the first weekend, to Savannah, Tennessee, to Keystone Lake. Wow, that's a lot of tournaments. Non-fishing question: is everyone going to need a Kansas Parks vehicle permit? Yes.
You there?
Yeah. You're a little blurry, but you sound good. How do I sound?
You sound good, but I'm blurry. I don't know.
It'll come back in.
Yeah, if you put in
Rob, that's a good question. Let's get in that real quick. Benji, so Rob asked, Kansas has a 2-pull limit, and you have to buy a 3rd pull license. How do you think it will affect anglers who are used to multiple rods? For example, Oklahoma is 7 per license. So I have an angler that's fishing solo Saturday. He called Kansas and said after his 3rd pull, as long as his name's on it, he can have up to 30. What's your thoughts on that?
Up to 30. It's the most you can have is 3 with that 3rd pull permit. So I'm not sure what.
So they were saying that as long as your name's on it. I wonder if I can pull.
If you talk to the lady in the front office, that's probably not quite accurate. If he has 30 rods out and a game warden goes by, that's not going to be good news.
Well,
but,
yeah.
3 is you're going to be your max. You get 2 with your license, then you can buy that 3rd pull permit. So depending on who exactly he spoke to, it could have been someone that didn't quite understand the question.
And I know that they've got some changes coming along. Is that correct? Like, I know everybody. The rumor is that they're going from 25 to 40 to 28 to 40. But we've not seen that yet.
I actually saw a game warden the other day and asked him about it, and he said that rule is in its last stages of being officially passed, but it has not been implemented yet. So I know that Acorn Resort up there had shared a post about it being 28 to 40 a month or so ago, and it had not officially passed, and they wrote a lot of tickets that weekend, which is what it is, but they could have probably clarified. But nope, 25 to 40. So that's probably about a 5-pound fish to a 30-pound fish, give or take.
So you have if you can't catch any overs, your best bag with 5 unders is around 25 pounds.
Yeah. And if you stick a pair of 50s, you'd be surprised how hard it is to catch a 24 3/4 inch fish.
So yeah, it looks like what I'm seeing, unless he is seeing something different, 2 rods, and then you can buy that third one, just like in most states. Actually, it's, you know what, it's kind of crazy. A lot of states are different. So Iowa has that 2 plus 1. Illinois, I think, it's kind of hard. It's as long as you put your name on it. But some DNR agents have told me that you can have up to 33 rods as long as your name's on them after 3. And their reasoning in Illinois, I guess, is that most people that are, if they're bank fishing and they got a long stretch and they leave their rod, that they know who that rod belongs to. So yeah, kind of a crazy rule. Josh Morris, same here in Missouri, 3 per person. And after that, you can have all you want if they have your name, phone, and address. So in Missouri, Josh is saying you can have all you want. So it's kind of like what you see out on the East Coast. A lot of those anglers got like 40 rods sticking out of their boat.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of crazy. Have you
yeah.
seen that, though? Some of those anglers out there? Like
Yeah.
with rod holders all over?
Yeah, and some of those guys, those kayak fishermen, I have a buddy here that goes down. He was fishing Alabama, and he had, like, I think he was running like 4 sets of planer bores. And that's, it's impressive, but it looked like an absolute nightmare to me. But maybe I'm a little simpler than most. So
Bill Brown says he only needs 1 bait and 1 pole.
pick up the lucky rod and roll with it.
So explain to the people really quick. Let's get that up. I'll pull up this map. Share my screen. All right. Let's see. Make that big. Okay. So if everybody's watching, we'll kind of explain how this is going to look on Saturday morning. Most of you will be coming across the dam on 57. Here's the dam in the middle. And then once you cross the dam, you'll get to the State Park Road where you'll hang a left. Once you hang a left, you'll have this park pavilion that you actually will drive by. And then you're going to come to the state park operations. And this is where you're gonna have your self-pay. So you probably have like a yearly thing, Benji?
Right. Yeah. They have a daily, but there won't be anybody there at 5 a.m. So I think an annual.
So they'll have to come to the self-pay.
Yeah.
So you won't be, I mean, you can come through here, but I wonder if most people, do they just kind of go loop around here, hit that self-pay?
To be honest.
Can you do it on your phone too?
Yeah, most people just pull that loop there is actually pretty sharp. If you just stay straight and buzz over there and grab it, or if you're up a couple days before and pre-fishing or whatever, I think an annual pass is only $20. So in the long run, you're going to save $10 or whatever. But depending where you're launching from, there's multiple ramps, of course, that you do not need a state park permit to launch from if you're up pre-fishing.
So if you've already got it, you're good, but you want to make sure that you are, because they will definitely give you a ticket. It's not even a question. You'll just stay on this State Park Road after you get stop by the self kiosk, and then you're going to continue on this long straightaway until you get to the Milford Lake State Park Marina, which have you been to this yet since they put the new ramp in?
I have. It's pretty handy. If you can't hit that ramp, then.
So yeah, they made this ramp extra wide for some of you that could use a little help backing in. So it's probably 6 wide for some of those that need help.
I think it's 6 wide, and it doesn't have curbs. So I guess be mindful of that, but it's big.
You'll come in, we'll check your live well, make sure you're registered. And again, at 5 o'clock is when we'll check that first boat. So I'm sure we'll have a line, but once we check the first boat, you're good to put in right here, pick your partner up and take off, and then fish from 7 until 3, and then be back in the weighing line by 4:30. So as you back up, there's the lake. So here's the area we're going to be in. Not quite halfway. Acorns, I'd say, is about halfway point. You got the dam down here, and then you got all this lake. So, anything else I'm missing on that?
I don't think so. When you enter the state park there's going to be a sign that says ramp to your left. There's another big ramp down there, but just stay straight on
another
that blacktop. Follow that
huge
blacktop.
ramp in here.
Yeah, so once you enter the state park, just go until you hit a parking lot. Don't turn.
Okay, so any questions on that? Even if this is not Monday night and we're not live anymore and you got questions about this event, don't hesitate to give me a call. We can go over that. Let's see. Seth is messaging me. I'm just saying only 3 rods. So let's see. You won't need more than 6 on Milford, Mackenzie said. Richard, Nebraska's only 2 unless river.
I don't know what Mackenzie's talking about. He may or may not have caught like 260s and a pair of 50s and a couple 40s today. So
wow, is that one he's got on his page right there?
That's one of them. That guy's a big fish magnet. He's pretty good, but luckily he's going to be on vacation this weekend, so he will not be competition.
He's gonna miss it. So what? He went fishing today.
Yep.
And how'd he do?
If it would have been a tournament, he would have weighed in. I think he said like 135 or something like that. So that's I know he caught a pair of 61s. What else he could tell you? But a 52, a 42, a 39. I don't know. He had a great day. He had a lot of big fish. So.
Wow. So yeah. What is your prediction on the weight for Saturday?
We've never had a tournament in May. If you're over 100
you kind of pushed me to have that tournament in May, right?
I know. That's a good thing, and I think it's going to show out. It's usually in March, and it's usually kind of a crapshoot as far as the boats are all pushed up north. You finally get some spring south winds that blows all that winter kill and everything else up there in the shallow, and you got boats 200 yards away from you in every direction, and it's kind of who gets the bite. I think 110 or so has won at the last couple March tournaments. I'd be surprised if it wasn't a pretty good number. But like I said, that 40-inch fish, that's a pretty good fish. A lot of lakes have a 30 or 35-inch over. You catch a pair of 30s and 3 good unders, you're usually in the top 7. And those are your small unders. I don't think it's going to be the case this weekend, but it's fishing. You never know. I see a north wind on Friday, but I don't really think it's like a cold front. But sometimes the smallest things kind of shuts them off. But I think you're going to see, if I had to put a number to it, I would say 117.
117.
Which is, I don't know that I've ever seen that on Milford with that.
He said he caught over 400 pounds today.
Fishing solo, 3 rods. There you go.
Fishing solo. He said he's sure it'll be a good bite. So let's talk about this. What's water temp this weekend? What's water temp right now? I guess Mackenzie was that. Or were you out today?
I was not out today. I'm going to say it's probably right around 62, 63, somewhere in there. Shad are easy. They're getting ready to spawn. Crappie are moving up. We finally got some rain. It just the lake was kind of in a lull. I mean, there's a ton of shad in that lake, a lot of small shad. We didn't have a winter kill really this year, and that made fishing tough. I mean, fish were just not hungry, and you won't see as much of that. But like if you're not used to this lake and you start running side imaging, you would think you had a bad connection. I mean, the blurriness of the small shad is just nuts. And you go to 2D and they'll be in 22 foot of water, and you'll have shad from 7 foot down to 22, thicker than thick, like just nuts. That's kind of finally spread out. And that's another reason I was kind of pushing for that May tournament is I've caught very good fish from 2 foot of water to 38 foot of water in the last 2 weeks. So I mean, I can't say a whole lot, but I mean, it's not like everyone's going to be sitting up there at 7 to 12 foot like they do in March every year, I guess. I say that. I mean, guys definitely win the tournament out deep here and there, but the majority of your boats, I mean, it's gonna spread the boats out, so it makes it a lot more fun.
So you have definitely, instead of like that March where you have usually everybody anchored up in some shallow water, now you're gonna have some people probably dragging baits.
Yeah, I think all of the local guys will definitely be dragging baits. Like I said, I don't know some of your guys that maybe do a lot more river fishing stuff. You know, we've got some inflow. There's still a lot of structure, a lot of rock piles. I mean, there's a lot of ways to catch fish right now. But I would say all of the local guys, at least that I know, will all be pulling. I'd say after the water temps consistently over 50, we're ready to start moving. But teach their own.
So I mean, anchor fishing though, I mean, like I said, it's usually a pretty shallow bite, but Mackenzie said 65-degree water temp. 65,
yeah. So the lows this week are not that low. We had a lot of cold nights the last month or so. So those, like I said, the bait would get easy for a couple days and then it'd pull back out because it'd be 38 that next morning and whatnot. But you know, if the lows are in the 50s and even 60s, those fish stay up there. And so, yeah, and we got some warm temps with a little bit more rain. So by Saturday, I'm excited. It should be real good.
He said it's time. So what about size of bait on this lake? Is that something that with the water temp, you start to go to some bigger baits this time of year? You know, usually you hear that colder water is small bait.
I'd say tournament wise, I definitely will be. Guiding, it's a little different because you got to have action and a lot of guys want to take home fish and whatnot. But there's stretches on this lake that, I mean, when it's as good as it gets, and I know that's fishing, it's anywhere, but I mean, this lake absolutely turns on. And I mean, it is 40 after 50 after 45 after, I mean, just there's a lot of good fish. And when they're aggressive like that, yeah, you can't throw a bait too big. I mean, like I keep saying, some of them river guys, I know you can throw just a ridiculous sized bait out there, but and some people that aren't used to catching big shad, there's a lot of 20-inch shad in this lake. There's big shad. So you can have as big a baits as you want. Yeah, but I mean, heck, the other day I was running 5 heads and a little bitty gut pocket. I mean, it's a little 1.5 inch square, and that's what my 52 came on. So you know how that works too.
Yeah, it's a giant. So what do you think on overs? Do you think we'll see a lot of overs then?
I do, absolutely. Like, once again, that's usually about a 30-pound fish, but you're going to see, 15 to 20 overs total in those spring tournaments. Generally, that's say 40 or 50 boats. I think you're going to have a lot better chance at culling good overs. You're usually looking for that second over by 2-3 o'clock, fishing, but I'd be surprised if there's going to be guys that aren't, coming in with 5 or 6 overs, and you catch that many, good chances are you're going to have a 50 and a 40 or, a couple mid 40s.
So let's talk about dragging. How are you dragging this lake? Is there a lot of structure? Is it pretty? What's this spot like? I've never been on this lake.
So your north third is pretty much a mud flat. You've still got, you got the river channel that bends up there. You've got a ledge that a lot of people like to fish, and then you've got a fair amount of rock piles and whatnot. As you get mid-lake, you get some deeper water. You've got multiple ledges on both sides of the lake. The further south you go, it just keeps getting deeper. But there's a flat, there's a couple flats up there. Your coves have quite a bit of structure in them. There's a couple coves that have a pretty good break going into them. We were kind of a month ahead of everything this year, I think, with the warmer temps. And fish spread out deep a lot quicker this year. I've caught a lot more fish deeper than I ever have, by this time of year. But like I said, we got, I don't know how much rain we actually got, but it had been dry for so long, and it's come up a couple feet. And there's a lot of fish being caught, where the inflow was, but as soon as that current dies down, those fish, they pull out too. So, like like I said, I don't want to like drop pins on everything, but I'll say this: I've caught 40 to 50 pound fish, anywhere from 2 foot to almost 40 foot of water in the last week or so. So I mean, and I like that. I like that it's spread out. So hopefully that's makes for a good tournament.
But that's what's cool is you never know. Like we always have these podcasts, the week before the tournament, and everybody's, they came and they pre-fished, this weekend fishing was on fire or whatever. And then you come to tournament day and everything for whatever reason changes and the fishing went left or whatever and people struggle. And that's what's cool is, you got to really be able to change tactics, especially with this lake. You got water flowing in, you got warmer temps coming fast. You got some pressure and you've got a couple different ways to fish it. But, you're going to have, I assume, around 50 boats plus a lot of pleasure boats. And then you've got the anchor rule where you got to be, 50 yards between each other while anchored. So if you go up to those shallows, that could kind of be a struggle to get to a good spot.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something about that. The boat pressure and shallow fish, whether you have the mindset of just waiting it out and hoping people fish or push fish to you. But, noon rolls around and you haven't caught a fish over 20 pounds and, your mind starts racing. You know that someone's got 2 in the live well. And do you stick to your plan? Do you ride it out? Do you, and then you run out to 40 foot of water and you find out the one boat that was sitting beside you sat there till 3 and he caught 2 good ones at 2 o'clock, and
That's fishing though.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Rain is going to be a factor this week. So we looked at the rain. I was talking to you backstage a little bit. My weather app keeps changing. As of this morning, there was no chance of rain Saturday, and now we've got some rain Wednesday, rain Thursday, and a chance on Saturday. So you're going to have rain Wednesday, rain Thursday, sun Friday, rain Saturday. So all temperatures are almost identical, though. Temperatures don't change much, 74, 73, 72, 72. But that one day on Friday can change, you know what I mean? After 2 days of rain, you got some flow in the lake. I wonder what kind of flow we'll get with 2 more days of rain, because you guys have had a lot of rain.
Yeah, in that lake, they keep it low. They've kept it low, supposedly to do with the blue-green algae. Being a core lake, they don't get to call the shots. They don't care about the fishermen, that's for sure. So whatever they need downstream is what they'll let out. But, this is the first year in 3 or 4 springs, I think, that it's not like flooded 5 foot high by any means, but it feels that way because it's been so low for so long that, all the weed line, there's a weed line, pretty much flooded weed line, around your shores now that we haven't had forever. And those fish love that. What day was that? Saturday, I think. I was up fishing in there and there was carp splashing in there and just a lot of activity. But then my best fish came out deep. So, it's the only thing that I really look at on the weather. I shouldn't say the only thing, but the only thing that scares me on that lake is wind. And it looks like Wednesday through, Sunday, we're not going to see that wind. Rain obviously is not ideal, but you can get out of the rain or you can put a cover up. You can't get out of 4 foot, 5 foot rollers. So, and that lake is known to get nasty. And it seems like every spring it just gets windier and windier. I don't know. Maybe that's just, Kansas or Midwest, but yeah.
It does. I tell you, we've had a lot of wind lately, even over here in Illinois. It's been wild.
Yeah. So
this past week, we had 49-hour gusts, even.
Yeah. Yep. No, we had tornado supposedly there in Wakefield. That's on the north end of the lake, and hail and a lot of power outages with flatline winds. And so, yeah, I don't mind a shower here and there, but when you get that severe stuff, that's a little bit different.
So then there's going to be the people that catch the slot fish, and that's going to be a big factor this weekend. What would you say is an average number of slot fish?
It's going to be your 5-pound fish up to about a 30-pound fish, give or take. Obviously, you catch those fat short fish or the long skinny ones. Maybe this is just me. There's not a lot of 15 to 25-pound fish in this lake. Or I say that maybe it's an age class thing. Maybe it's Maybe it's just me. I've talked to a few people about that just out of curiosity. And for whatever reason that, it used to be nothing to go out there with fresh bait and fish for 2 hours and you caught your 5-eaters and 3 or 4 15 to 25 pound fish and a good one. But it's like there's a lot of good fish, but for whatever reason that, I don't know if it's an age class thing or just crazy that I haven't caught any 15 to 25 pound fish in the last 5 years. Maybe that's the case too. But yeah, I mean, theoretically in a tournament, 25 pound fish does you no good. We caught a 29 pound over in a tournament here a month ago. That was almost 41 inches long and skinny. And then we caught a 38.5 pound fish that wouldn't hit 40. So, I mean, there's your 9 pound swing right there. That it's pretty tough to have a fish that's almost 40 inches laying in the boat and throw it back and throw your rod back out and just
here's a good question for you. This is a question from me as a director. I've been doing this now. This is my 10th year. And we're doing more and more of these measuring tournaments because we're growing west and we're getting to these lakes, Lake of the Ozarks, Keystone, Oklahoma stuff. And now in Kansas, I go to tournaments and a lot of the guys, the night before, the morning of, they say, hey, what happens if I catch a fish and it's right at the line, but it relaxes and it grows a half an inch? Do you ever see these fish grow a half an inch or an inch?
No, probably not that much. You kind of know down deep whether it's a fish you're comfortable bringing in or not. And, you're trying to win. It's not like you're trying to cheat. I mean, the amount of times I've caught a 39.999 inch fish that, you're like, dude, it's touching, and I'm not yanking on it. Like, I know you can't do that, but you lay it on its side and it's just it's right there. And, you're like, well, maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe it'll, but if it's clearly under, you kind of know, like I said, deep down, whether it's worth risking or not. I mean, you don't want to get disqualified, but it's not like you're trying to blatantly cheat. I don't think I've ever had a fish that personally that, I know for a fact was, man, I know I measured it and it was good. And now it's not, but I don't see as many fish go across the scale as you do. If it's close, you put them in a live well, measure it, and then 2 hours later you look at it and measure it again. And I mean, usually, like I said, you can usually tell after that first swipe of the tail if it's going to do it or not. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. I'm not a tournament director. I don't know how smashed the nose can get. If if you're going to measure the unders on the belly, you'll get a little bit shorter on the belly usually. Whether it's just 1/8 of an inch or not. And then your longest measurement's generally on the side, but that'll be for you to determine. And hopefully I catch a 45-inch fish. Don't worry about it. But
yeah, because if it hits 25, you're out, and if it's 40, you're good. But it's got to be. You don't want to get, especially the anglers that are chasing points. I mean, that's a big deal to get disqualified.
For sure.
So
yeah, no, I'm not going to bring any names in, and I wasn't like right there, but I watched some pretty reputable anglers get DQ'd over the years at some different tournaments that I'd bet money they weren't purposely trying, and whether, different tournament directors, one of them pushed the nose over the top of the board, one of them did this, one did that, one didn't measure on, so, be confident in your fish and measure twice, cut once, I think is what they say. But
yeah, and I got actually another conversation with the wildlife department out there about, because I know there's a lot of misconception on how you weigh a catfish. Really like the rules or the laws out there, how they read is a little different. So we always measure them on their bellies. Especially when you're weighing them on their sides, it's kind of tough to get a good measurement. So
yeah,
I think that they'll be there too. Kind of, they want to do some studies and stuff because we're trying to get it where in 2025, if we do go back, that we maybe don't have a slot rule and then just let us weigh 3 fish. But I think we'll see it. And like I said, you get a ticket. I mean, it's not just a rule; it's a law.
Yeah.
And they were very blunt that they said if there's somebody in the slot, they're going to get a ticket.
Right.
I mean, so. Yeah, I would say if you even look at that and go, or debating, I'd probably put that fish back.
Yeah. No, there's only been drama a handful of times, or I know that guy likes that angler and he barely even measured that fish. There's no way, and all that. But hey, that's.
I think enough people have known me. Like I said, I've DQ'd a lot of people.
Yeah.
Especially one of my first measuring tournaments at Lake of the Ozarks. I don't know if Scott Linton's watching on here, but most of the people I disqualify are because it's not even. I mean, it's like I only did 2 people at Lake of the Ozarks this year. They were both dead in the middle of the slot. I mean, not even close. But like the way I do it is it doesn't matter. There is no. It's close and it's good. It's literally if it's the line to line. I mean, that's just the only way to do it. To be fair.
Yeah. And you've ultimately got to say, but I've seen, hey, I'm going to have you 3 people come up here, measure this fish. What are you guys getting type of thing? And it's usually a pretty distinct answer. That's, you never want that to change the outcome of a tournament or drama involved. But, yeah, you get enough. There's a lot of 24.9-inch fish and a lot of 40 or 39.9-inch fish in there too. And when you're just out fun fishing and you weigh it and, hey, that was 36 pounds, you throw it back. Well, start putting them on a scale or on a board and it changes things for sure.
100%. That's one thing being a tournament director is you lose. A lot of people don't like you after you disqualify them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the rules like that. But hopefully that doesn't happen this weekend. You know what I mean? But it's just is what it is.
Yep.
That's the fun part is I got to wear gloves and measure every single fish. So and it's hard. It's hard for me to let someone else measure that fish because. I know what it has to be, and I got to make that call. I don't want someone else that's helping me make that call. I have to be the one to make that call. So
yeah. So are you strictly measure on the belly?
We always have. So I talked to them a little bit about that, and they're fine with that. They just because a lot of this stuff is how the laws are written. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to measure a big catfish on their side depending on what you're using. Because technically, if you're not using a bump board, it's long enough and it's a bigger fish or it's a fat fish, it almost kind of goes over the top bump board if you don't have a bump board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've always liked the side just because, well, for one, you do usually gain just a touch, but it's just, I don't know, it's a consistent measurement.
Kansas boys.
Absolutely, man. We'll take them out. We can get them. But. No, and I've even seen director before basically say, measure your fish for me, show me how you got that fish to 40 inches or, whatever. Not even like disagreeing, just show me how you measured it in the boat type of thing and throw it on there. And like I said, I mean, you're going to have someone that's pinching tails and it might be me. I don't know. I mean, I'm not tugging them and yanking them, but like I said, you have a good weight in there. I mean, you're not just, you're right at 40. I'm by no means
100%. I mean, like I said, the way I measure that fish is I put them on their belly. I put my left hand on their head right against the bump board, and I squeeze their tail and swipe it. My goal is to get it to hit 25 or to hit 40. You know what I mean? Swipe it, and at the longest. And like I said, then I just show people. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. It's literally right there in front of you. There's the line. There's the tail. There's where it is. So
yeah. Do you have any tournaments where 40 inches is your over? Or is it all like 35?
No. So it's usually 26 to 34 in Missouri. And then you've just there's not a lot of slots. I don't do a lot of slot tournaments. It's mainly just overs. You know what I mean? You only have 2 over 34 or 36 or 40 is kind of a weird one. That's a lot. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot more, but that's a lot more.
You look at a board and you look at 40 inches and it's and 25 is not very big. I mean, so you've got a big gap in there that like you mentioned earlier, I've always wanted just a 3-fish tournament. Ideally you're going to need 2 good ones, whether they're overs or not. But, you stick a 60 and a pair of 25s. I mean, that's a decent weight, and it makes the weigh-in more exciting. And, instantly if someone has overs or not, and that their weight's either going to be 70 to 100 and some pounds or 25, and there's nothing in between. Unless you catch that flathead out of the blue or a big channel, which there are big flat.
So let's talk about that. So what happens if you catch you think that's a possibility that somebody catches a good flathead?
Definitely is, especially this time of year. I doubt anyone's really targeting them, with live bait or whatever, but last March we won a pretty good tournament out there in Milford with a 43-pound flathead as our kicker. I don't know why he bit. We were fishing structure and cut bait, and he ate it real slow and had no idea it was a flathead till we got him the boat. So that was just living right, I guess. But yeah, I would say by this time of year, I mean, we caught some flatheads in the throw net, up catching shad up shallow. So, I mean, absolutely.
Especially 65-degree water temp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, very well could be. And if you put a pair of overs blues in the boat and you've got a 20, 30, 40 plus pound flathead, I mean, it's a pretty good flex going to the scales. That'll do it. But, and yeah, there's a lot of big flatheads in there. You know, nothing like the amount of blues, but there's plenty in there. And there may even be a 10 or 12 pound channel that's caught. That helps. It's not a huge upgrade, but it's the size of 2 unders. So
yeah, true. So Jay said, do you use Parks planer measuring boards? Yes. That is what we would be using. So let's talk about you a little bit. Let's talk about, how did you get into this crazy catfishing? Is it something you kind of grew up doing? Kind of give me a little bit of your history.
yeah, so grew up in Sabetha, Kansas, up here in the northeast corner. So I'm like 8 miles from Nebraska, about an hour from Missouri, and an hour north of Topeka. So up in the corner. The river's pretty close. It's within an hour. No big lakes. I say that. I mean, I guess I'm in a pretty good area because I hear a lot of people travel 3, 4, 5 hours consistently to go fishing. But so I guess I'm lucky there. I've got Perry, that's a little over an hour down the road. I got Milford 2 hours away, Tuttle an hour and a half, Clinton, an hour and a half. So and honestly, those are 4 pretty good lakes. And of course, the blue cat thing has just grown over the years. But yeah, I didn't get into it till I went to K-State the fall of 2012. May or may not have stayed there an extra year. But hey, nothing wrong with a victory lap. So I had plenty of time to skip class and go fishing. And I got to give a shout out. So I had never went blue cat fishing. I had always channel cats, and I've actually caught a 31-pound channel cat, a couple 29s. So there's a local lake here that's got some giant channel cats. So I just have no desire to go up to like Calamus or the Red River and catch these big channels, which is probably silly. I was spoiled. There's big channel cats. But I wanted something bigger. I went out with Ryan Nagy that following spring. I mean, it was like snowing, like this isn't fishing weather. There's no way, I'm used to catching channel cats when it's July, 104 degrees. Went out with Ryan. If I remember correctly, the first 2 fish in the boat were like 44 and a 40. I mean, I was hooked. Of course, it was calm that day. I was on a pro cat. I mean, life was good. I had a little 17-foot fiberglass, an old 2-stroke Johnson on the back that if you held your tongue right, it would start about 1 in every 4 tries. And took it out there a few times, caught fish. Fresh bait was by far the key, which was a whole new thing to me. I couldn't go buy chicken livers or catch bluegill. I needed to learn how to throw a net. So, I mean, I was starting from scratch. Grew up on a farm, fished the creeks and all that. But, my dad wasn't like a huge outdoorsman, farmer, but not, he'd take me hunting if I asked or take me fishing if I asked. But I wasn't like he was passing down rods and, all that. That's just not what he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started fishing Milford more and more. And then upgraded boats to a 19-foot deep V that could handle Milford waves. And pretty much just anchor fished. And then Nick comes along. We became good buddies in college there and figured out what a planer board was. Everyone's like anchor fishing, and we're out there pulling planer boards at like 1.5 mile an hour and like 40-mile-an-hour winds, not having, stuck like a couple good fish, placed in a tournament and like on top of the world, right? We still didn't know what we were doing. And then bought a pro cat, just kind of kept taking steps upward, build up some clientele, working at a landscape company in Manhattan, had Fridays off. So I was fishing Friday, Saturday, Sundays, doubles, just running myself on the ground. Finally, 2019 came along. That was COVID year. Nobody went back to school after like spring break, and I was getting phone calls pretty consistently about fishing during the week and whatnot. And it was a scary jump, but I was ready to do it. And like, I'm not swamped, but I'm pretty consistently busy. I've built up my clientele, and I worked for a couple different outfitting companies over the years out in Wyoming, down in Pittsburgh, Kansas. And I've been a people person. Really enjoy it. It's just like anyone you talk to that gets to the point where they don't care who pulled the trigger, who's reeling in the fish. If you're there, watching it happen. You know, you didn't ask for my whole backstory, but there's plenty of stories out there of kids that are reeling in a big fish, or, you know, the 90-year-old guy that, you know, had never caught a fish over 15 or 20 pounds in his life. And little did they know he had 2 months left, you know, and he comes out with me and catches a 60 and, you know, talked about it till the day he passed. You know, stuff like that it's cool.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it can be an entertainment business. You get kids on the boat and whatnot. You know, you're asking about big baits. I love running big baits. I'll sit out there for 7 hours straight and watch rods. If I don't get a bite, I don't get a bite. But, you know, you get clients on the boat, you can't do that. You gotta, you know, a lot of people want to take fish home. You target your smaller fish, of course, differently. And, you know, ideally you put a mess of eaters in the boat and then go after the big one. But, yeah, I mean, it's fishing. You catch fish 5 days in a row. You're posting them on Facebook. They're calling you. They're excited. And cold front hits that night or something, or the wind shifts out of the east and you got storms, whatever it is, the bite just shuts off, and you've got to give them an enjoyable day on the water, whether or not, you know, they catch 20 fish or catch a good fish. You know, you want them to have fun. It's not a very fun feeling when you get your butt kicked and, you know, how much do I owe you? You know, it's like, well, here's what you owe me, you know. And yesterday's trip caught 3 40s and 20 eaters and yada yada, and they paid the same as you did. But that's how it works. Someone said, well, this was a horrible example. We had a bad day. It was a slow day of fishing. And they said, well, I know you usually do fairly well because we follow your page, but like the Royals, this was a couple years ago, the Royals are horrible. And like, we still go buy tickets. We know they're going to lose. They're like, but we still go. And I'm like, well, let's not go that far. They're like, well, it's the experience. I'm like, yeah, there you go. I don't know. I always thought that was funny. I was like, no, you came in knowing it was going to suck. But no, I've met a lot of awesome people over the years, return clients. Most of them are within 2 or 3 hours of the lake. But, you know, I've made some cool connections over the years. I had a group from South Dakota that comes down every year, but California, Wisconsin, Texas, you know, and a lot of other states. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Got 2 little ones, so I don't know how long I'm going to be able to ride it out. I live 2 hours from the lake, so wife's job brought us back to my hometown. We were living right there in Milford for a while, so we'll see. I'm not ever going to be able to give it up cold turkey, but we'll see. I'm still going hard at it right now.
So what else would you do? Because like I said, when did I meet you now? That's been a couple, 3 years.
Yeah. Whenever you talked me into ripping lips and I didn't know anything about them and started dabbling in that, and hey, this is a lot of fun. And those light, that medium, that light edition is by far my favorite rod. That is.
But like just from me watching you guys, you know, and Nick obviously doesn't do it as much because he just can't hang with the big boys, I guess. I don't know if Nick's watching or not, but you know, you came a long ways. Like I'm always following your page and sharing your stuff, and like you've really built something. So that's pretty cool. And then I know you've dabbled a little bit on the Missouri River with a lot of success. So are you, I mean, what do you think you might start doing trips in other lakes or get away from just Milford? And I know, do you do Tuttle?
I do Tuttle a little bit. Tuttle's kind of the hidden gem. It's hit and miss. When it's good, it's as good as any lake. There you go, Nick. Nick's got the big boy white collar job, so us little fishing guides aren't much to him. But I'm glad that I'm still able to get him on the boat Saturday. Maybe he'll be my sponsor for this weekend. But no, Tuttle's really good. The blues have grown in there rapidly, and so that's your lake that's just 30 miles over there away from Milford.
But it's a lot smaller lake, right?
No, not a lot. It's actually the second biggest lake in Kansas, so it's still big.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the Blue River flows in there, and so that lake fluctuates a lot more. Milford just doesn't get the runoff. I mean, it's got to really, really come down to bring that lake up. Tuttle comes up and down quite a bit, and so it's a muddy lake. Cove fishing isn't that great, so you basically got a long, skinny chute. So if it's windy, don't even mess with it. Half the time the lake's too low to put in up north where we fish. So, you know, you're putting in and you're running 12 to 15 miles every time just to fish, which some of the river guys, that's nothing, I know, but when you're bucking 4-footers, it is. So, but yeah, Tuttle's, I know my biggest out of there is 65. I know of quite a few 50 to 60. I mean, a lot of 50 to 60-pound fish. And I don't know when they stocked them in there. I think it was early 2000s, but it's just a different caliber of fish. Like, they grew so much faster. They don't get pressured, and like, they just fight harder than a Milford fish, which sounds silly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We always said that. Now, like I said, the way the bite has been lately on Milford, I mean, tighten your drag up and it's still going to scream when they hit it. But yeah, Tuttle, I mean, it's like they're just pissed off at the world. You get them in the boat trying to take a picture, and like we always joked about the Milford fish just getting pressured so much now that they lay there and you're ready for them to take a picture and throw them back. But I don't want to downplay
And
it.
that's just down the road. I mean, it's Manhattan, right?
Yeah, not even a half
That's
hour.
not
Yep.
far.
Yeah. So
that's a beautiful city from when I drove by it. That's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Really nice restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, next year's college football national champions, I think, are actually in that town. So no, that's my Vegas plug there.
So if somebody said, "Hey, Benji, what's your top 3 destinations to fish in Kansas any time of year," what would you say? Start from your first, second, and third.
I'm going to go Milford first, and not just from a catfishing standpoint. There's a lot of the hybrid wipers in there and a lot of big white bass. So it's just a fun lake to fish. A lot of that topwater action, all that. But it's got your best population of blues by far in there. Second, personally, I'm going to say Tuttle just because I know it better. And I know what it can produce. And then number 3, personally, I like Clinton. Clinton is in Lawrence, so that's only, an hour, a little over an hour from Manhattan.
Is that what? That's east, or what?
That would be east, yes. But you've got Perry, which when Perry puts on, it can be really, really good. And you've still got Melbourne, Cheney, El Dorado. I mean, all these lakes have big blues in them. I don't fish down south.
There are a lot of lakes then. You guys got a lot of lakes going on over there then.
Yeah.
Some good fish.
And you've got the Missouri River. So I used to always think, I have to drive so far to fish these places. Well, I guess in the big picture, I'm pretty lucky to be. I don't know if you can hear the little one screaming up there, but someone fell off a chair or something. Yeah.
So you just fished the Missouri River really for like the first time this year, or?
No, I've anchor fished it a fair amount. That's where I ripped off my first lower unit back when I was like 18. So I've been there for a while. But I don't know it anything like the river guys do. I know that when the water's cold, you can catch them in holes, and as soon as that water warms up and it's a bumping game, I need to learn. That's on my 5-year goal. I want to say this summer, but I know how busy I get and whatnot. But I've got buddies that, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a river fisherman. My biggest on the river is a 73, caught a 73 and a 70 and a 50 or something the other day. That was an anchor bite. I mean, I'm comfortable navigating the river, but as far as like, hey, are you going to guide on the river? No. I mean, maybe someday I'll take people out just to change the scenery or something, but no, I don't know the river a tenth of what the guys, my buddies that fish it religiously, not even.
Yeah.
I tell them I do, but they know better. I don't. But I've only.
So you don't think you're ever going to give up guiding, though, do you?
No, there's no way I can. I mean, half of it was just building up the clientele and whatnot. But I just enjoy it too much, and I'm never going to get like rich doing it. But yeah, I mean, if you run a couple doubles and it's cash the day of, like it's a fun gig. And the fact that I've been able to make it a full-time gig for however long, I mean, it's not easy to do. When fishing's good, anybody can go to Milford Lake and catch fish. Absolutely. When bait's hard, when the weather doesn't cooperate, there's a lot more to it that, unless you do it almost daily, that you realize it's more work than a guy would think. But all these guys from out east that follow you that come out here on Milford this weekend, and they're gonna be like, man, I need to guide on that lake. So they're all gonna catch 40-pounders left and right. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I know of at least 6 boats that have never fished in Kansas at all.
Yeah.
And they're really, really excited. I mean, they have a lot of river stuff around this area. I've thrown a ton of lakes at people this year. Usually Twisted Cat kind of started off as a river tournament series and just slowly grown. And, Lake of the Ozarks we had done. And then this year we just went buck wild. And, Lake of the Ozarks, Keystone Lake, Kerr Reservoir. Like I said, it's just there's a lot of different bodies of water that we're chasing. So it's obviously making the anglers really have to kind of step out of their norm. Dylan Lawson didn't even know what Kansas was until this year, or a lake. So this is a Dylan Lawson. I don't know if you've seen any stuff he's doing. He's a young angler from Iowa and just really fired up and had a really, really good year last year, him and his partner. And maybe missed one or two events this year, but I mean, he's in the running and he's dialed in. So,
Cool.
To make the championship for Twisted Cat this year is again like last year. Now I think we're up to 13 events with Savannah, Tennessee, October 12th. Out of those 13, we're picking your best 4 events, which is tough. So, I mean, that means you can throw a lot of bad tournaments away. Donald Moore's had a couple rough ones. He gets to throw them out the door. So he's got a makeup tournament, as we say. So that's a big deal, and it's going to be really, really tough to make the Helena Championship. So, it'll be interesting. This is going to really change numbers after this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish some of those events were a little closer. It's not in the cards right now to, fish your trail as far as going all over, but I've got a couple buddies that hopped in it this year, and you said something about the Iowa guy. I have a lot of guys that come down and fish with me from Iowa that want to catch blue cats, but man, they love their flatheads up there and they catch a lot of good ones. But Nebraska and Iowa guys come down here to catch blues. There's a lot of blues here.
Yeah. What's up? Palmetto Cats is in the house. Rob said you're doing Keystone. So we did Keystone last year. We're doing Keystone again this year. We did Keystone middle of September, which was kind of a rough bite, but still had some good fish caught. And we moved it to now towards the end of October because we've seen what Keystone has for big fish. And Oolagaw is definitely on our list for 2025. So Tom's asking if you're fishing St. Joe.
I would like to fish St. Joe. It's an hour.
Is that
away.
Kind of where you put in? That is. So
it's an hour, but I usually put in up north. I usually go up in Nebraska, Rulo, or north of that, Nebraska City, or you got White Cloud right there too. The river fluctuates enough too that when it gets low, there's only X amount of ramps that are usable. So yeah, you taking over that August tournament on the river, that'll be fun. Those bumpers will love that day tournament. Like I said,
we're just gonna throw a little something different, do a day tournament this year, and kind of see how it goes. We've got a good list of people already registered up, and I think it'll be a fun event.
Yeah. No, those guys on that stretch of river, Cross Canadian.
You know who that is?
I do. He's holding his little bitty 242-inch deer in his profile photo too.
That is a big deer.
He usually calls it something else than that, so I'll take Cross Canadian. I'll give him that. It's usually some different wording there. So thanks, Dalton.
I just put in a parking lot here in southeast Kansas. Old Benji will put you on the fish. You know who that is?
I do. It's about time for Scott to start going out and catching his wipers. He's a wiper catching fool. Until he goes live, and then they just shut off.
Oh, does he do some live stuff?
Yeah, he catches a lot of them, but for whatever reason, he'll catch 10 in a row, or so he says, and then no. I don't know him great, but we've got some mutual buddies. I know Scott.
Yeah, so not only blue cats, there's some other good fish on that lake. Like I said, there's a lot of people that fun fish, and Acorns is always booked up, it seems like, to go hang out there for a week. So let's see.
Yeah, there's a lot of wiper guys on the lake. I've dabbled into it more and more.
And will you take people guiding for wipers?
I do. If blue cats, if it's good, I'll push them that way and say, hey, but while the blues spawn in June and whatnot, there's a lot of topwater action. It's hard to beat that, throwing topwater plugs or just spoons into the, some people I guess haven't seen that topwater action. The seagulls are diving, the shad are flipping out of the water. I mean, the water's just boiling. You full speed ahead along with the 15 locals, and it doesn't matter. There's so many fish. It's as quick as you can catch them, and then they drop back down, and you hang out and look around for another 10, 15 minutes, and they come up again. You burn a lot of gas, but it's a fun style of fishing. As long as you've got people on the boat that know how to cast a rod and reel, which it's about a flip of a coin whether they do or not. But
I need a Friday morning wiper trip, Benji.
Who said that one?
Monty, he's a guy from Texas.
Well, hey,
I've heard those are really, really fun.
They are very, very aggressive. They fight really hard, and there's not many 10-pounders in that lake, but there's a lot of 6 to 8s, and you're using a medium action spinning rod, and it's a lot of drag going on at once when you hook into 3 or 4 of them on a boat. So figure out how to catch some white bass this week and throw them on a hook. Kansas is pretty lenient as far as that goes, as long as you legally caught it. The crappie are getting ready to go. Hint, hint, that could be a really good bait. White bass.
So let's talk about bait. Let's kind of go over some more of those rules. So, every state, as we do a lot of traveling, has different bait laws. So what's on Milford Lake? I'm going there. I'm bringing my cast net. Maybe I'm bringing a rod with some spoons or whatever. What can I catch and what can I use for bait?
So, basically out of a cast net, carp and shad. Goldeye, if you happen to catch one. There's a lot of goldeye or moon eye in that lake. But generally we catch those with rod and reel, 4 or 5 foot under a bobber with a little piece of shad or night crawler. And that's a good bait. We do a lot of that more in the summer, but the shad are getting close to spawning. Like I said, I don't want to give away like all the secrets, but bait should not be hard at all. There's your goldeye. Goldeye, moon eye, it's a good bait. Shad, and like I said, if you're not used to catching Milford shad, some people think shad are most of the guys coming here have caught plenty of bait, but anything dead you want, anything. Yeah, anything dead to this lake. Otherwise, in a cast net, your shad, they're getting ready to spawn, and they are big. There's 20-inch shad in here. And if you catch a shad under 10 inches in here, then that's surprising. There's a ton of little ones, a billion of the little ones, but those big ones, and they can disappear and get tough. And, live scoping them in deep water is almost impossible. They'll dodge that net. They're not stupid, but, and then, rod and reel, the crappie are close to going. They're pulling up on the bank, so that's a good bait.
Is there a certain size the crappie has to be?
50 of any size on that lake, which is ridiculous, but it's what it is.
Yes, I talked to him about that. I thought that was wild that you can keep 50 crappie.
You drive through a couple of them marinas and you got guys throwing them in the bucket, 7 inches, 8 inches, 15 inches. It doesn't matter. They're going home with them, which somehow there's a pile of crappie every year. But you'd think there'd be at least a 10-inch limit or knock that limit to 25. 50 of any size, that's you get 4 guys on a boat. Well, Jared.
Is that true?
If he's referring to the day 2 springs ago when we caught like 817 in one day, we may have lost track a little bit. That day was nuts. That was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It got boring. But no, generally I don't catch crappie unless I need bait.
So crappie you can catch. You can keep up to 50 of those, but you can't catch them in a net. It's got to be on rod and reel.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
White bass. There's a lot of white bass, and they're a very good bait, or can be. And once again, there's no limit, but it's considered a sport fish. So you've got to catch them on rod and reel. Wind blowing banks, up shallow. They're moving up shallow too. They're also spawning. And then, I guess if you catch a legal size smallmouth or 21-inch walleye, go for it. But no.
No, white bass. He says he's eating them before he gives them to catfish.
Yeah. We'll go hang out at the cleaning station and wait for the locals to come in and clean their limit of crappie and take the heads.
Is that legal though to take if you didn't catch it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, as long as they caught it legally, which you assume they are. They're pretty, I mean, it sounds bad. This is not what I'm going for. They're pretty understaffed as far as like the warden and stuff go out there. Basically strictly saying off of taking someone else's crappie heads. But yeah, I'm not saying, hey, go keep this illegally. You're not going to get stopped. I'm not saying that, but they're pretty good about that. I mean, they don't usually try to look for something in the wrong. But I guess everyone's different. I've definitely had people push until they, oh, your fire extinguisher expired 2 days ago. Here's a ticket. I mean, what do you do? But
yeah. Oh yeah.
But nope. I mean, they're gonna know there's a tournament coming, so I'd say if you're keeping some fish or something, they'll be up in the parking lots here and there and whatnot. You're having a fish fry with your buddies on Thursday night or something, or whatever, But for the most part, we don't get stopped too often. But there's a lot more pleasure boaters and locals out now. I mean, May's a busy month. There's gonna be a lot of boats on the water. Like I said, you got the crappie going, the blues are going, and just be a lot of boats out there. So a lot of people, a lot of bank fishing. Crappie spawn's popular there.
Yeah, like I said, I still can't believe there's 50. 50 is the limit on crappie.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, most of our lakes are 20 with like a 10-inch limit or 10-inch minimum, but 50.
What's a good crappie on Milford?
I mean, you'll get in the schools of your 12s and 13s for sure, and you'll definitely have your 15 and 16 inchers. But that day that we caught, I mean, we literally caught 800 some crappie. I'm gonna say 15 of them were over 15 inches, maybe, and most of them are 11 to 12s. So I mean, good ones, good eaters, but not like Tuttle's got giant crappie, but not as many, or not generally catch as many. This is coming from a guy that doesn't. I can catch them when they're on the banks, but I don't get. I mean, I have LiveScope. It's fun to go jig them off a brush, but I'm not going to sit there for 6 hours to catch a dozen.
So, since you brought up LiveScope, let's talk about. Do you think LiveScope has changed the game of catfishing? Do you think it will change the game?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of cool opportunity with it. Bait obviously has changed the game, I guess, as far as that goes. But as far as like, I did watch a YouTube video the other day that a guy was basically jigging blues and flatheads with cut bait. I mean, just sitting in front of them. So I mean, it happens. But where I'm at, no. Maybe down there on like the Tennessee River and stuff, where those guys suspend baits a lot. I could see the right guy. Maybe there's people doing it already successfully. We fished Wolf Creek night tournament, and I was bored. It was like 2 a.m. I was sitting over a tree, and there was 3 or 4 big catfish suspended 10 foot off the bottom. I was in 35 foot of water, and I was dropping like a full shad down there, and he'd come up, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna be the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna catch a 40-pounder on LiveScope right here, and we're gonna figure out these fish. It was a slow bite for us, and he came up and he kind of nipped at it one time, and so I cut it. I took the head, went a smaller bait, and he'd come up and act interested, but he never would. And that's honestly like the only time I've really tried, and I can for sure say that like those are 3 big blues sitting there, or maybe they're flatheads, I don't know. There may be guys on the river already that have figured it out as far as fishing holes and whatnot, but I don't. You pull back behind a dike or something, and you assume those fish are holding to that cover. You're gonna throw 2 baits to it, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's guys in there that have done it successfully, consistently. I don't think you'll probably be able to. It doesn't do anything for me on this lake, I know that, but where guys suspend a lot more, maybe. What do you think? I mean,
how deep does this lake get, Milford? Deepest water.
60, 65 foot on the far south end.
Oh, wow.
Mid lake is going to be 30 to 40, on the breaks, and then the further north you go, you got 25 and on down all the way to 2-3 foot of water the further you go. So it's not a real deep lake, but it's got everything. There's not a ton of like timber. There are coves with, standing trees and whatnot, but there's a lot of ledges, a lot of breaks. The river channel zigzags. I mean, there's not just a giant flat. I mean, we call it the flats up north, but there's a lot of old foundations. There's old farmsteads that are sunk. There's rock piles. There's a couple areas you've got old railroad tracks going through that you can see very distinct. Pretty cool. I mean, these fish are spreading out, getting more active now, but in the spring early, I mean, you're fishing a lot of that structure. You're really pinpointing them down to a single rock pile or, an old submerged bridge. I mean, I assume most guys have their navionics chip in. There's a lot of stuff out there. So it's not hard to find fish.
So navionics and Lake Master cover it real good.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
Wow, so there's a lot. If you're an angler that's new, especially coming in, or even if you've been there, I mean, just like yourself, there's a lot of things that's going to be changed with, obviously water temps at 65 now. It's probably rising. And then you've got all this water coming through, plus 2 good days of rain and possibly rain on tournament day. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I was curious how many of those fish would push shallow with some inflow. And I was hoping they wouldn't all run up shallow just because I like it when the boats are spread out. That's me personally, especially for a tournament. But after what I saw the other day and talking to some other people in the last few days, I mean, there's definitely fish that are up there in that current, but there's a lot of good fish that are being caught not in 2 foot of water. So it spreads them out, makes it fun. You get on a pattern and ride it out.
Yeah, because it's important to get 2 overs. I mean, your goal is not to catch 50 fish; it's to catch
exactly
5, and 2 of them being really good.
Yep.
What do you know the wind direction for Saturday? It'll probably change 100 times. Rob's asking.
It was southeast yesterday, which was what I wanted, and then it changed to north something. But like I said, if it's under 10 to 12 mile an hour, that's the best you can hope for on that lake. Yeah, you have some glass calm days, but for the most part, northwest, but still a high of 71. So it's not like, it's your north wind that's going to be a high of 50 in rain. So I don't think it messes with them that much this time of year. But I guess we'll find out.
Let's see. So, Mackenzie said he thinks on LiveScope too much noise from transducer on the bigger fish, in his opinion. So, I don't know. Like I said, I've only had it out twice, and like I've got LiveScope on the front of my boat, and I have it in perspective mode. So my thoughts are that I can kind of scan a wide area, and then on the back of the boat, I have it in forward facing, where you can really dial that in. But you get to see a lot of stuff. Like I mean, if you've never used perspective or LiveScope, imagine like a really high definition side imaging that you can turn. It's kind of how I look at, you have a 160 degree view, and I've seen some really cool stuff, and then you can see fish swimming. So whether that's bait fish or a catfish, but again, I think that you can spend a lot of time, chasing that fish.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, especially on Milford, it's anyone that's good with their electronics can usually tell if it's a blue or whatnot holding close to the bottom. But I mean, there's plenty of 50 and 60 pound buffalo carp in here too. And if the graph looks too good to be true, then more than likely it is. You start seeing the suspended fish with the shadows. A lot of times it is carp and whatnot. But so that's the biggest thing for me, is trying to figure out. I can tell when I'm looking at them, but there's fish everywhere. How do you say, okay, that's a blue that's not moving? I've tried a couple times when I was wiper fishing, suspended, and there's blues down there eating them too. But
plenty is an understatement. And then, like what Scott said, I mean, you don't know. I mean, especially unless you get really good. I mean, are they catfish? Are they? There's so many things you don't know.
Yeah.
Dillard must have woke up from his nap. He said LiveScope is useless for catfish. So
I agree with that.
Well, he's being Jerry a little bit.
Oh,
right
is he?
now.
I got you. I agree with that because of how I fish, but like I said, I'm sitting here talking. There might be 5 people looking, including him. That's like, yeah, okay, keep thinking that. Well, I'm going to let you have that. And that's just not it's just not going to be me. But
I do really believe that LiveScope will change it a little bit. Is it gonna? I don't know that it's gonna be like crappie where you have to have it or you're not gonna be able to compete because you know what I mean. But I think that you're gonna be able to learn a lot of things that you didn't know. You know, learn that some of those catfish are suspended more than you think, or how they chase bait, or like how they hold on structure. Like I said, I really got to use it on some shallow water. You know, 1, 2, 3 foot of water in perspective, and really got to scan, and that's pretty cool. Like the stuff you get to see.
Yeah.
You know, and then especially when you see logs and all that. And like I said, it's, I don't know, especially when you're sitting still, you can move. I mean, I just like imagine you're side imaging that you're just moving however you want. You know, here it's live. It's live. You know what I mean? But you can spend a lot of time.
Be able to get to the point where you can target that fish that clearly and cast to it. And at that point, what are you doing? Are you throwing a swim bait at it and trying to hit the head? No, you're probably throwing something with some scent, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's the right guy. I always said somebody on the river could, especially them tournaments where you're looking for an 80 and a 60, I always thought maybe someone would pull in behind one of those dikes or something and find slack water where you can kind of pinpoint them. But at that point, like I said, you're throwing out 6 baits and sitting in a fairly small area anyway. You're either gonna catch them or you're not.
Well, there are a few guys on the Missouri River right now that are making their own hooks, like weighted hooks, and live scoping directly down, and jigging and catching them, all on live video. They're even kind of making their own rods to kind of have a different action, so they can kind of jig straight down like that. And they're catching fish. I mean, I've not seen anything big. Maybe they're not showing us, but they're definitely catching blues.
Right. Yeah, I saw a couple things on Facebook the last couple of days that I didn't dig into, but it may have been part of what you're talking about. I'm not sure.
But time will tell, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm excited to really kind of get it and, learn it this summer and dial it in and see if it's something like it'll definitely help on bait. I mean, 110%.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't go to these areas and throw for, I always say throwing for ghosts because, you know what I mean? Because a lot of these areas I have to throw before I even get close to it. And the bait's either there or not. I can't really scan it because once you kind of get in there, you scare them. So like now I won't even have to, like, I'll be able to scan 30 yards, 40 yards out and know in a second if they're there.
Yeah.
And then just move. I mean, that's going to save me a ton of time.
For sure. Yeah. Then you know how many's in the net when you pull it up half the time. Unless you're throwing on a huge school, but the amount of times you say, oh, there's 1, 2, 3, and the last one didn't make it out, 4 in there. And then it also helps.
Now that is cool. Like being able to watch your net go down and like, that is wild.
Yeah. Or you throw and they don't dart and you're like, oh, yeah, those are not shad. Picking out baby blue cats in your net for 2 hours. But
I would. Yeah, it's terrible.
But
that's terrible.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. Them 20-inch shad, man, those things can move. But bait should be easy. Bait should be as easy as it's going to get. They're spawning and they're very, very close to spawning. And yeah, that's the big thing. You used to always say, bring bait if you're coming to Milford, because you never know when they're just going to disappear.
Or bring a rod and reel to, be able to throw. Like, what do you catch? I mean, this is just for me. Like, you throwing like spoons to catch some of these wipers and stuff, or?
Yeah, a lot of little swim baits when they're like this time of year, they're starting to push up shallow. At least the whites are. So I'm just throwing a little swim bait, a little rubber swim bait. But generally, all summer long, we will be.
Scott might as well. Scott, are you signed up? You might as well come take some money. Saturday.
He's not too far.
All right. Yeah. So what do you use to catch like some wipers?
So lure wise, we're either using slab spoons that are 2 ounces that you can zing forever. Otherwise, we do a lot of live bait. Whether it's just a J hook and those little baby shad. There's a night crawler bite. From mid-May to the 1st of July usually. But once those shad hit the lake that have spawned and those schools go out, I mean, it's strictly a shad bite. But we catch a lot of them on those big topwater plugs too. Great big spooks. And so, but yeah, like if you're trying to go catch white bass right now, first of all, you could probably troll around with little rattle traps or little, like those little red eye shad that Strike King makes. That's my favorite. Or, what are those little, everyone uses them now. They've got like pretty small gauge wire hooks and they're really, really, really sharp. I've got 100 in a boat. They come in 3 packs, whatever those little,
the sabiki stuff.
No, whatever those little swim baits are. Anyway, they're like a Rapala of some sort. But yeah, you can troll around.
Yep,
troll around for an hour and you're going to catch.
Flicker shad.
Flicker shad. There you go. God, I couldn't think of it.
Flicker shad.
Flicker shad. Yep.
Those Nolan nailed it.
Did he?
And Jared. And Mackenzie.
Yeah.
One after the other. Flicker shad. Go. Flicker shad. Flicker shad.
Yep. Those catch a lot of whites on too. So, but yeah, so no, you can use a lot of baits at Milford. Let's
see if anybody lasted this long in the podcast. Can you? I'm gonna add. You don't have to answer this question, but I'm just gonna ask anyways. Are you only going to be using shad for bait?
Me?
Yes.
No.
Okay, that's all I need to know. That was my question of the night. Every boat should have one, is what Nolan says. The flicker shad.
Oh yeah. Yep. No, and even those gold eye or moon eye, they'll hit those too. But yeah, I mean your early spring tournaments, 90%.
Oh, they come in a 3-pack. I'm with you. What one do you like? Which one? What brand?
Well, I really like the Strike King, the little red eye shad. For whatever reason, they're a little heavier, so I can actually cast them a lot better. But if you're just trolling around, those whites are so stupid they'll hit anything. But they've got the bill on them. I think they're a little bit more of a deep diver. I don't know, 15 foot or so or something. So or maybe it's 8 to 10. I don't know. They've got a million. I like those right there. Yes.
Right there.
But
oh crap! I said I wasn't 18. So yeah, flicker shad. All right, every boat needs one. That's what Nolan said. Every boat should have one.
We'll spend more time catching white bass. I won't even go looking for blues.
So they hit pretty good. Like, that's pretty fun to do.
It is a lot of fun. They're not like great big whites like some people catch, but I mean they're not tiny. They're all, I don't know, 13 to 16 inches and pound and a half, 2 pounds, whatever. But they're good bait and they're fun to catch. There's just a ton of them. But there's a lot of those hybrids in there. Those wipers are a lot bigger. But
Scott said 1 live bait, 1 cut shad, 1 cut crappie, white bass. That's like a buffet, Scott.
There you go.
There's my boy. That's who I'm talking about. Craig said Bink Spoon. So Craig's the one that's doing some crazy stuff on this LiveScope. Craig, I'm going to have you on the podcast here soon so we can dive into what you got going on. Mama's fine China with a treble hook. I never heard that one.
There's a guy out here on the lake that catches the absolute crap out of them on a piece of copper tubing that he smashes together with a little treble hook in it, which blows my mind. But let me tell you, he puts fish in the boat. So I guess don't overthink it sometimes.
Dylan said if they're anything like the Mississippi River white bass, they'll be nail clippers if you throw it far enough. You know what he means?
I don't, actually.
Give us some more. They'll bite. Chrome blue rat L trap. Oh, Dillard's back off his nap again. Craig said he can't live scope very well, but somebody in your boat's been live scoping very well because I've been watching your videos. So don't be lying to me. But he's developing a rod for it. Yeah, clue us in, Dylan, a little bit on that. So yeah, man, like I said, there's a lot of cool things this weekend, like from the varieties of bait, the varieties of fishing. You know what I mean? Are you going to be dragging, anchored, shallow, deep? You know, fishing structure. You're going to have current. I mean,
yeah, no, it's
spin fishing.
It's what you want in early May. You know, you can't bank on it to rain, but it usually does this time of year. And like I said, the shad get up shallow. Crappie are getting ready to go. But I mean, I can promise you that I've caught good fish from 2 foot to 38 foot in the last week. So I mean, they're spread out. I mean, they really are. So that's good. It'll be interesting where everybody goes, you know, and you know, there's going to be people that go shallow. I know that, but you know, there's going to be a lot of pressure up there too. And even with the locals on a nice weekend day, I mean, there's a lot of people that fish this. Aside from the tournament, there's a lot of people that will fish out here. So, you know, you can only put
let's kind of talk about that. You always hear pressure. A lot of new people in the sport. It's getting beat up. I mean, you always hear that. So then you go, you know, we just had our Sea owner 13th annual tournament in Decatur, Alabama on Wheeler Lake, which is a big lake. And you always hear, oh, there's no fish there. The fish are gone. They're, you know what I mean? And I know it does get commercial fish, and we are obviously, as the sport's growing, we got to, you know, combat that. But we just had a pretty ridiculous weigh-in. 181 boats. I think 11 boats over 100 pounds. I mean, it was a pretty wild weigh-in. So probably one of the better weigh-ins that they've had in a long time. What's your thoughts? You've been doing this now for a decent amount of years. What's your thoughts on the fishing at Milford since you've been at it? Obviously, you've gotten better too, but
pressure is absolutely a real thing. I love fishing shallow, and you know, those fish aren't dumb. They get fished a lot. There's a tagging process that the state did, and you can call these fish in, and 3 out of 4 that I do call in have been caught before, like since they tagged them, like again. So like these fish are getting caught a lot. And absolutely, I mean, to each their own mindset on that. Like I said earlier, sometimes it's hard to wait out an area that you've done well in, and very seldom does somebody sit where they wanted to fish from 7 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And it's hard to do. You know, like I said, by noon or something, your mind starts racing. You know, somebody's got a bag, you know, it's hard, you know, they're biting somewhere, right? So how long do you
they're always biting somewhere.
They're always biting somewhere. But I think, you know, the boat traffic spooks them. You know, assuming you've kind of got, you know, if you're anchor fishing, like I said, we haven't had this tournament yet in May. That early March, it's usually like right after the ice is off, and those fish, they get spooked for sure. And you know, we've done really well when we just wait it out, let them push fish to you. You know, of course it looks stupid when you sit there an extra 3 hours and everyone else, you know, you find out they left and went deeper and caught fish, and you just sat there and didn't catch anything. But I firmly believe that they spook quite a bit, especially when it's real calm. But you know, your pattern, you never know where people are going to fish. So you think you've got something figured out Thursday or Friday, or, you know, the guys that just show up. There's enough local guys that may not even come out Friday other than to catch bait. They know the lake well enough. They've been fishing it way longer than I have. So they're going to go to their areas where they want to go to this time of year, or they've been looking at the inflow, or they know the water temp and whatever it is. And then you show up, you know, Saturday morning, it gets light and there's 5 boats sitting there, or, you know, 3 boats motor out of there, buzz 60 yards from you. And, you know, it's going to take those fish a little time to calm back down, or, you know, if they're feeding actively and moving around, or are you sitting on structure where, you know, how often does the fish move in and out of that structure? And
yep,
there's a million ways to look at it. But long story short, I firmly believe that pressure is a big thing out there. And I personally would rather fish less fish that aren't pressured, you know, in a different area of the lake than set up with the slugfest in the pressure. But you also don't want to take yourself out of the game. If you know there's big fish being caught there and you stuck a 50 on Friday afternoon and lost a good one, it's hard to give up on that area just because you know other people are fishing it. So once again, to each their own.
That's what Mackenzie said. Love the launch style. I think it'll help the bite. So again, how we do this is what we were showing everybody early in this podcast. If you didn't get it, go back and right in the beginning, we talk about it. But we start we're going to be out of the Milford Lake State Park Marina. So once you come in on the state road off of 57, I think it is, you cross the dam, take that left. You make sure you get your pass if you haven't already got it. And you're going to stay straight on that road all the way back. It's a long, long road. And then we're going to check the first boat at 5 a.m. Once we check your boat, got all the registration good, you're free to put your boat in, pick your partner up once you get your truck and trailer parked, and go. And there's no fishing until 7. So from 7 to 3 is fishing hours, and you got to be back in the line by 4:30, which we'll probably have the weigh-in done by 4:30, I would assume. But everything will be out of that ramp unless we need to have overflow for a bunch of boats that will use another ramp. But I don't foresee that ramp can hold a ton of probably over 100.
Yeah. Well, like that Chaser series, these were 100-boat tournaments, and they were blast-off style to where, the lake is an ocean for that first 30 minutes. Everyone's running, and, hey, you're going to fish out there in 8 foot of water, and 72 boats just flew over at full speed for 10 minutes straight, and then it's time to fish. Well, man, why didn't we catch any fish there? Well, I wonder,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting. My buddy said to jokingly say, make sure you tell everybody they're catching them on chicken and Kool-Aid down by the dam. But guess what? I've caught some big fish down by the dam on chicken and Kool-Aid before. So, hey, maybe that's the ticket. I don't know.
I was talking about this with Chris Brenegar, which is a really, really good fisherman. He was talking about how he's used some chicken, and I know some people that we joke with Kirk Lucky a lot, but chicken has a lot of ammonia acids in it that attract fish. And they were talking about like frozen chicken's a little bit better because the way they put the preservatives in it. And we can joke about it, but Kirk Lucky's biggest fish is like 94 pounds on chicken.
Yeah.
So, that's hard to swallow right there.
Yeah. No, I was too proud to use it for years. I was like, I can't have paying clients show up in my boat and they've watched YouTube videos of guys catching, channel cats out of their local creek on chicken and Kool-Aid, and I whip open the cooler and that's all I got, so I'd never do that. But I got outfished on Tuttle Creek a couple days in a row when I caught bait at 1 a.m. and I was, I went out of my way to make sure I had fresh bait, yada, yada. And he outfished me. And I said, all right, I'm not doing it yet. But and the next day outfished me again. And I was like, man, it's never going to go put it on all 6 rods, but there's a time and a place for it. And yeah, I remember that day very well.
What is the time? Can somebody tell me the time? Is it May 4th?
To me, it's they just want something different, and it's a really muddy water where it just, that Kool-Aid, the way I do it, I don't like, some people think you make a batch of Kool-Aid with, sugar and water. No, the chicken, when you cut it up, it's got the juices or whatever kind of come out of it. And, you just mix that. It's a very saturated, piece of bait that just has it could sit in the water and mud for 2 hours and you pull it out and it's still got a very distinct, strong smell to it, and a piece of shad usually doesn't. Yeah, somewhere we have a poor scent trail. I agree with that. But hey, Tuttle fish love it. I know guys that have caught big fish on Milford with it for sure. And that's probably anywhere, but for whatever reason, man, those Tuttle fish, they've got a sweet tooth for chicken and Kool-Aid, I guess. But it's not always. It's hard to not have a big shad head on out there or something, but like I said, I always had this thing in my head that it was, you catch fish, but you wouldn't catch big fish. Kind of like a dough bait or whatever. You get bit, but here to tell you that. But will I have chicken in my cooler on Saturday? No, I will not. But
and you won't have just shad. We know that.
No, but I will gladly shake the hand of someone that catches a 60 on chicken and Kool-Aid. I won't I'll believe it 100% if it happens.
Just get winner bingo tonight. Nathan Blint. All right. Well, any other thing you want to add or talk about before we jump off?
Not really. Trying to think, as far as they can reach out to you or whatever. I don't have any huge recommendations on, places to eat or whatever. There's a restaurant there on the lake. I don't know how many guys are going to come up Thursday or Friday, before even Wednesday. But no, the forecast looks good. There is some rain, but the only thing that's really going to keep you off that lake is wind. And luckily we don't have that. We've had enough of that last week, especially the last couple months. So no, I'd be really surprised if there aren't some good weights. And like I said, even if you don't catch the weight to win some money, it should be fun fishing. It should be worth your trip over here. So looking forward to Twisted Cats coming west over here to Kansas.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I really am. Again, thanks for being on. Anybody that's looking for a great guide in Kansas, on Tuttle or Milford, or I'm sure you can talk them into some of these other lakes, but Benji will definitely take you out across Creek Outdoors. And I'm excited to see everybody this Saturday. Going to be fun. Stop number 5, and we've got 13 total events now. Aaron Jarrell, I know you heard me. We added a Savannah, Tennessee tournament October 12th. So I would say, again, like I said, this is stop 5, so the points are really going to start coming together. Some people getting their 3rd and 4th tournament in. Some people are throwing some out so that hopefully they can replace some points. Like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see how this tournament pans out. And then we're going to go to Pekin, Illinois, May 26th, be another big event. So I'd say we'll probably be around 50 boats or so for this tournament. Registration will go up tonight after the podcast to 340. So it's $315 right now. It goes up to $340, or it'll be $325 cash Friday night at the Courtyard in Junction City, or Saturday morning at the boat ramp before you take off. $325 cash or $340 if you could play with the card. So, again, Benji, thanks for being on. Some great info for people who have not fished Milford. And I don't know. In the comments, if you're still watching, give us your guess on big fish and total weight. Again, it's a 5-fish limit, 2 over 40, 325. I'm going to go big fish. I'm going to go 62 big fish and total weight 123. So I got to write this down. 62 big fish, 123 total.
I don't know.
Oh, you're laughing at me. Okay, come on.
The lake record's like 82, 83 pounds. I don't know that I've seen a 60 weight in a tournament yet, to be honest. But this is the time to do it for sure.
But have you've not really seen a tournament this time of year, right?
No, we've never. Do I
got to back up? What did McKenzie catch today? Like over 400 pounds, and he caught some big fish.
And I know of another guy caught a 52, another guy caught a 58. But McKenzie's got that horseshoe shoved somewhere sometimes, and I'm telling you what, and he's solo, man. He was by himself with three rods. So, but yeah, no, he had a 261s and another in the 50s and a couple other, a lot of times we'll just say we caught however many overs today. He caught, I think, 6 overs, which, like I said, on tournament day, you're looking for 2, but your 230-pounders aren't going to do it. But it's still fun to have 2 good ones to show off with the scales. And yeah, there'll be some good fish caught. So.
And a lot of first timers. So hopefully, let's see, you have a few locals, you have some people in Kansas, you got people from Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas coming, Texas, Oklahoma. So there's going to be a lot of states represented in Milford. My first time there, I'm really excited. And I don't know, we'll see. That's what I got. Like I said, 62 and 123. So time will tell. So again, Friday night, if you want, be hanging out at the Courtyard There's just a ton of parking. We'll have some new hats, some merch. There's a nice Mexican restaurant there. I think that you took me to a restaurant close by there. What was it? The barbecue. That was a good place.
JC's Barbecue and Grill. There's a lot of fast food and stuff, but yeah, there's a couple Mexican spots. There's that place. What all is there? That area where you're at is.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to do if you want to come out. Again, it's non-mandatory, but if you want to come, really go in, dive into the rules. If you have any questions on how we're doing Saturday, if you just want to come hang out, hear some fish stories, you're always going to hear those there. Go over our ruler, how we're going to measure them, exactly how we're going to measure them. I'm not going to be able to show everybody Saturday morning, so Friday night, definitely come. And like I said, if you want to bring your ruler, if you need to purchase a ruler, they're $125 from Kevin Parks, and we're just selling them for him. And we're just going to have fun, hang out, and talk catfishing. And then Benji might take me Sunday. We ain't talked about that. If Benji can't take me Sunday, maybe somebody can take. Liz and I are going to try to stay over Saturday night and go fishing Sunday morning a little bit to some hot spot maybe. Maybe there's a hot spot on Sunday. But yeah, again, everybody, thank you for being on tonight. I'll play a little trailer from Benji's outfit here. And again, if you have any questions and you want to get a hold of him, follow his Facebook page or reach out to me and I'll send you his information. Like I said, I've known Benji and Nick now for what, 4 years probably?
Feels longer than that, but yeah, something like that.
Ripping Lip rods and stuff and Ripping Lips gear and watched him grow over the last couple of years. I know Nick's kind of got away and got that. He's the big dog now, but he's going to get out of retirement. So it'll be fun seeing Nick this weekend too. But and again, if you have any questions, shoot me a message, give me a call, or make sure you get registered. If you know somebody that's not registered, call them and say, hey, Twisted Cat's coming to Kansas, going to Milford Lake, come join us. Let's have some fun. And I hope to see you and have a great turnout. And everybody else, have a great rest of your night. Make sure you smash that like button. Follow us on YouTube because I got to get that 1,000 for Rhett by summer. I want to lose that bet. And that's it. Benji, thanks for being on. And then enjoy this quick little video from Benji. And we'll see you next Monday. But we'll go live Saturday also from the weigh-in. So, all right, man. Thanks, everybody, for being on. And here's a little clip from Cross Creek Outdoors. If I can figure out how to share it. There we go.
This is Benji Stoller with Cross Creek Outdoors. I primarily guide for blue catfish on Milford Lake, and we go to Tuttle Creek a little bit as well. We do a little bit of white bass and wiper in the summer, but like I said, primarily the blue catfish, ranging anywhere from your eater-sized fish up to the great big ones you see the pictures of on Facebook. So anyway, give me a call at 785-285-1123, and we'll get you taken care of. Thank you.
All right, that's it. Have a good night. Again, subscribe on our YouTube channel. We got some new videos coming to some not flat, as Rhett says, deep, shallow water. But some shallow water channel cats in like a foot or two of water. And I did the first or most recent angler spotlight with Seth Maclow up in Fort Madison on Pool 19. That'll be coming out soon, and we're going to start doing some more of those. Hopefully, Benji, I get to do one with you, an angler spotlight video. So hopefully that's happening soon. But thanks again, everybody. Enjoy your rest of your week, and hopefully we see you Saturday in Milford Lake. Out.